Surely it has happened to you. Someone sees you, asks how old you are, and when you tell them the truth, their eyes widen, and they say, "You don't look it." And you're left thinking, where does that come from? Because you don't feel like you're doing anything. Special music, you don't follow any extreme diet, you don't have a 2-hour gym routine, you don't use luxury creams. You're just you. And it turns out there are very concrete reasons behind that, reasons most people don't know because nobody explains them. Music in this style. They aren't beauty tricks, they aren't lucky genes, they are habits, attitudes, and ways of living. Music that, without you having realized it, have been working in your favor. Today we are going to look at 7 of those reasons, and reason 1. You are moved by curiosity. I'm telling you right now, when you get to the end, you're going to look at some things, music, at your life in a completely different way, because what makes someone look younger goes far beyond what is seen in the mirror there. And why? Stay until reason number 7. That is the one you least music expect, and probably the one that will make you think the most. Youth isn't music a matter of years. It is a matter of how you have decided to live. Reason 1, you are moved by curiosity, not by obligation. There are people who get up every day wanting to learn something, not because anyone asks music them to. Not because it's useful for work, but because it generates something inside them that is hard. Muge to describe, a kind of spark. And that spark, music, although it may not seem like it, has a real physical effect on the body. When the brain is active, when it continues exploring and processing new things. Reason 2, you don't hold grudges. It produces neural connections that keep it agile, and an agile brain is reflected outwardly in the way you speak, in your gaze, in the energy you transmit music when you are in a conversation. People who look younger than me and Nick, they usually have this in common. They still care about knowing more. They are still surprised. They still ask questions as if they had no shame in not knowing everything. And that mental openness, music has something that no cream can imitate. You don't need to study or read technical books. It could be cooking something new, learning to play an instrument, listening to music, a podcast about something you had never considered. What matters is that the brain receives music signals that there are still things to discover. That keeps it lit, and what is lit does not age the same way. Reason 3, your relationship with rest rather than what shuts down. People who stop learning start to age on the inside long before the outside. But there is something that goes even deeper than curiosity, and it has to do with what you do and the emotions you don't express. Reason 2, you don't hold grudges for very long. This may sound very philosophical, but it has a real basis. When you keep a resentment active, when music, you return again and again to something that was done to you. When you cannot let go of what happened, your body feels it, yes, it. Not metaphorically, the stress that a grudge generates. Music chronic raises cortisol, tenses muscles, disrupts sleep, and accelerates inflammatory processes. Music which show on the skin and in the body over time. People who look younger than they are tend to process things and move forward. It doesn't mean they aren't affected. It doesn't mean they don't feel. It means they don't music settle. Reason 4, you laugh easily when necessary. They live it, process it, and let it go. Forgiving is not doing a favor for the person who hurt you. It's doing a favor for yourself. It's deciding that what happened is not going to keep taking up space in your head, music in your body, and on your face. Because accumulated resentment shows it settles into jaw tension, neck stiffness, and that exhaustion music that doesn't disappear even if you sleep well. Letting go isn't easy. Music, but people who practice it carry less weight, and less weight always shows. A grudge doesn't change what happened. It only ages you while the other person goes on with their life. Reason 3, you have an honest relationship with rest. And here I want to pause for a moment because I know this reason isn't easy for everyone. There are people who don't sleep well because they work nights or have children. Reason 5, your real small bonds because stress gives them no respite, music, or because they've been fighting insomnia for years without anyone giving them a real solution. If that is your case, this is not intended to make you feel bad. It is intended to recognize that your body is making a huge effort under difficult conditions, and that deserves respect, not criticism. That said, what is in your hands, even if circumstances, music, aren't perfect, is the intention. People who look younger, music, than they are do not necessarily get a perfect 8 hours of sleep every night. Music, but they do give rest the value it deserves. They don't sacrifice it for things that can wait. They don't stay on their phones until 3 a.m. when their body has been asking to stop for hours. They protect that time as if it were valuable because it is. While you sleep, the body works in a way it cannot replicate at any other time of the day. It repairs tissues, regulates mood. Reason 6, you have something that matters to you, hormones. It clears the brain of metabolic waste that accumulates during waking hours. And when that process is cared for, the result shows in your skin, in your eyes, and in the energy with which you move. If insomnia or work makes it difficult, I am not asking for perfection. I am asking you to start small, a more consistent schedule, less screen time. In the final minutes before sleep, music, a calmer environment, not because it's magic, but because every small gesture in that direction tells your body that rest, music, matters. And your body always hears that, even if it takes a while to music respond. You don't need to sleep perfectly every night. You need to start treating rest as something you deserve. Reason 4, you laugh easily and without filters. Genuine laughter does something to the body that is quite impressive. It releases endorphins. Music reduces cortisol, relaxes facial muscles, improves circulation, and all that combined. Music, reason 7. Your relationship with yourself has a visible effect. It is no coincidence that people who laugh a lot in that true, uncalculated way tend to have a vitality that grabs attention. But there is something beyond physiology. Easy laughter says something about how that person relates to life. It says that not everything music is so serious. It says there is room for lightness, even on complicated days. And that attitude. Music, that real lightness, is something people perceive, even if they cannot name it. People who take everything too seriously, who can no longer remember the last time they truly laughed, often have a noticeable rigidity. Yuck. This is not a judgment. It is simply what happens when one carries too much without letting anything go. Monasha. It is not about faking joy or forcing good humor. It is about not losing the ability to find something funny in the everyday. Over the years, that becomes a trait that keeps you more alive than any supplement on the market. Whoever still knows how to truly laugh has something that time has not been able to take away. Reason 5. You have real bonds with other people. This is backed by a lot of research. Yet it remains one of the things least talked about when discussing youth media. The quality of your personal relationships has a huge impact on how you age. Not just emotionally, physically as well. People who have close friendships, who have honest conversations, who truly feel seen by someone, have lower levels of chronic inflammation, better immune function, and less cognitive decline over time. The human body responds very differently when it feels it belongs to something. And conversely, deep loneliness, that state where no one really knows you, where you can go without having a conversation that matters, has a cost that is paid over time. Real bonds are not the most numerous ones, they are the most honest ones. A true friendship, a person you can talk to without watching every word, someone who knows you on bad days and stays there. That has a value that goes far beyond the emotional. It tells your body in a way that science is still studying that you are safe. And what feels safe ages with more grace. It is not the years that keep you young, it is the people with whom you live them. The last two reasons are the most personal, and number 7 is the one I like explaining the most, because almost no one sees it. Reason 6, do you have something you truly care about a purpose, a project, something worth getting up for in the morning? It doesn't have to be big or heroic. It can be a garden you tend to, a business you are building, a hobby you've been perfecting for years, people who depend on you in some way. What matters is that there is something that gives direction to your days. People who have that, who have a concrete why, show something in the way they move through the world. There's a specific energy in someone who knows why they get up, a presence, a calm firmness that is difficult to fake, and that makes them seem more alive than the average person of their same age. Without purpose, the days become the same. And when the days are all the same, something in the body and the mind begins to move more slowly. Pointless routine exhausts you in a different way than work that has meaning. You don't have to have your life completely music figured out to have a purpose. Sometimes it is as simple as committing to something you genuinely care about. Music and protecting the time you dedicate to it. That alone sustains. Music over time changes the way closing and final reflection you age. The person who knows why they wake up doesn't age like someone living aimlessly. Reason 7, you have a good relationship with yourself. This is the one most don't expect, and yet it is probably the most music important of all. People who treat themselves well, music not in the sense of being perfect or having no insecurities, but in the sense of not living in a constant music internal war, radiates something, almost music impossible to describe, but very easy to perceive. There is a calmness in them, a groundedness, as if they were comfortable occupying the space they occupy. Music, and that shows, it shows in their posture, in their way of speaking, in how they respond when someone criticizes them, in the absence of that constant attention that people have. Music who never feel like they are enough. People who judge themselves harshly all the time, who are never satisfied with who they are, who live in a cruel internal dialogue with music themselves. They carry a weight that shows, not always in an obvious way, but it shows. In contrast, someone who has learned to treat themselves with the same kindness they would show someone they love. Music has a lightness that nothing external can buy or imitate. And that lightness, that peace with oneself, is probably the most rejuvenating factor that exists. It doesn't appear on any music beauty routine list, but it is at the base of all people who look younger than they are. Nothing makes you look younger than being at peace with who you are